Becoming comfortable with the uncomfortable. Leaning in. What does it mean, and how does a person even do that? Like a lot of things in life, it sounds so deceptively simple and yet can be so complex and difficult at the same time. Let's say that in the process of living our lives, we are suddenly faced with a narrative that doesn't fit our own. A narrative that, if we continue to be exposed to it, starts to challenge our beliefs, what we hold to be true, and how we look at the world. Almost instantaneously, we start feeling our stomach and shoulders tightening, and our skin feels all warm and flushed. Our flight or fight reflex begins to take hold and protect us. We want to escape or shout loud enough to drown out what is happening. It's not uncommon that the kind of disruptive narrative that fits this scenario is being a white individual and confronted with our privilege. I see this reaction all the time and have definitely been confronted with it myself on my own journey of learning. I did not know what I know today 20 years ago. So let's pause it here and unpack a couple of things right now. Firstly, this initial reaction is a normal human thing to occur. Some of the fundamental blocks of our way of living are being challenged. The first thing our brains hear is that someone is accusing us of terrible things. Our minds are telling us we are under threat, and our first instinct is to protect ourselves from this threat. I will remind us all that just as physical growth spurts are painful, so are mental, emotional, and spiritual ones. And I can assure you, as a possible white individual like myself listening to this, you are in no imminent physical, emotional, or mental danger. Rather, we can think of it like a runner's wall that we should try to push through. And right now, our brain is trying to get back to their usual ruts, habits, and neural pathways where it is easy, practiced, and comfortable. Resist that. Sit or lean into what is happening. If your own logic and worldview is truly unassailable, what are you worried about? As Nietzsche posits, how can we be so sure our arguments and belief systems are valid if we are not willing to have them challenged and truly listen to other points and perspectives? And after all, how can we possibly think that we have all the answers solely based on our own views, experiences, and ways of knowing? The simple fact is that we can't. They are not as universal as we flatter ourselves into thinking. So what are we really worried about here? We're afraid of the scary unknown. And that brings us to the second point. Most of us like to think of ourselves as humble, right? And if we are humble enough to acknowledge that other humans, such as the LGBTQ and Black Indigenous people of color, have experiences we have never had, and we are reasonable enough to acknowledge that these experiences are valid, then our reactions of resistance and struggle must be coming from the negative, reactive emotions that being confronted with these new truths bring up. At this point, let's take a breath. And remind ourselves that we did not create these systems and institutions that continue to disadvantage other human beings. This is true. But the key word here is continue. We have continued to inherit these systems and institutions. We continue to operate within them, and we continue to benefit, perhaps blindly, from them whilst they continue to fail others. But that blindness is coming to an end, and just like removing sunglasses in the face of the sun, it's painful. Ouch. Pain, shame, anger, guilt. Am I right? These are messy and heavy emotions. We are hitting our runner's wall. What if I told you that we look at these emotions all wrong? That they are not meant to be permanent. They are, in fact, transformative emotions. When a person first gets near a flame, they do not keep their hand on the coals to make sure the lesson is learned. Our hand jerks away. We instantaneously reason not to do this again, or we risk further pain and damage. We have transformed to more clever people. When the flames are metaphorical and represent facts, information, and new perspectives, our quick reactions do us a disservice. This pain needs to be sat in and considered. Why does it hurt? It's not a physical pain or an imminent threat. There's a lot of discomfort, but no serious physical effect. So let's revisit the scenario that started this whole thing. We were in the process of being confronted with a truth we had never considered, and we are sweating bullets. Our brain is telling us to run away or fight so hard we will feel vindicated and maybe get out of this mental chokehold. This is a perfect time to start practicing our skills and face some potential hard truths. If we do this right, we are going to feel uncomfortable at first, but we are going to learn to push through and come out on the other side. Like breaking that runner's wall and catching a second wind, we are going to face a lot more potential for beautiful relationships, collaboration, and clever solutions to problems that we all face. At one point in our far distant ancestry, staying with your own group was a positive adaptation. The time to move beyond that limitation came long ago, but we haven't quite managed to make that social leap. If we do less talking and more listening, we transform into more self-aware and introspective people. And at that new level of awareness, we begin to see how we can act positively. And while advocating for the marginalized, we also change the system and institutions at the same time. To recap, no matter how much you are tempted to claim you are unsafe in a conversation like this, you are not. There is a mighty big difference between being uncomfortable and being unsafe. It is a very important distinction to keep in mind because we as white people tend to use it as a shield or a get out of jail free card. If hearing these narratives for the first time has you feeling those buzzwords like triggered or traumatized, then that itself is a sign of one's privilege. In order to begin to have authentic and meaningful relationships with others, especially individuals who have different experiences and worldviews, we're going to have to work hard on building those relationships. And that means hearing what another person has to say, being open to other opinions or knowledge that we ourselves do not possess. So start by reading some books or following some social media from someone who doesn't look like you. If we take in all our information from those that are the same or very similar to us, we can't possibly think we will achieve any growth. Unless one is a raging narcissist, we can admit we are not perfect. We don't know everything, so let's start exploring that unknown. The long-lasting positive benefits far outweigh the temporary rough patch we first encounter. I'll leave you with something else to ponder: human behavior. It doesn't belong to any one group. We all have more in common than we might think. We seem most connected at our base level of emotions, like anger and pain, and yet this is all too often what drives us apart. There are many other things that connect us all. Let's try to focus on those. Thank you.